Sebastian, you didn't have to do this for my birthday. Thank you so much. Floor seats for Tech Ball Championships. What's Tech Ball? Okay. Let's Google. Video. Okay. Huh. You're fired. Welcome to the Benben Show. This episode of the Benben Show is brought to you by Elliot Page.
Elliot.
What?
Elliot.
Also by the Congressional Democratic JV track team.
Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% live.
How's everyone doing? I hope they had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I hate Thanksgiving, so I had sushi and steak. Just don't like the turkey. Don't think it's an important tryptophan. Makes you sleepy. It's not really good if you're not Joe Rogan on the grill. It's really boring. It's dry. You know, like a kind of the deli version of it's better. And it's just so... You have to add cranberry sauce, add gravy. It's like any meat that you have to add stuff to. It's not only attacking the person that made the dish itself, the chef there, that is. It's attacking the very element of like what's so great about it. It's more about getting together, getting drunk, eating strange pies that are made from pumpkins, and I don't know, just like engulfing yourself with gluttony. That's what it's about, and spending time with friends and family. It's not like the food is like. The amount of food is what's so exciting, like this permission to just go crazy, not so much the quality. Anyone's gonna tell me that turkey and stuffing and gravy and cranberry sauce is better than steak, sushi, and like, let's throw some else, it's like chicken fried rice, you're out of your fucking mind. Out of your fucking mind. There's no way it's better. No way. Anyone on death row, whether, anyone, Ted Kaczynski, he's just in Supermax forever, but whoever, they're not asking for turkey. You know what I want for my last meal? What? A turkey? Fuck that. No, they're not. Not unless like, I don't know, their only childhood memory before their father or uncle penetrated them or something. Like it was like a nice meal with their family and turkey. Just, child trauma usually causes all these bad things in life. It would lead you to death row. So that's why I mentioned that. Oh, it's sad. Okay. This week, President-elect Biden referred to psalmist as palmist not once, but twice.
The palmist, with the palmist who wrote these following words.
I guess confusing his tarot card reading psychic with the Catholic Church. Easy mistake, but shortly thereafter, Biden broke his foot while playing with his God. No word yet from Biden camp as to whether he's dyslexic or he has early set Alzheimer's. I don't know. Whatever. It's like, I don't know. There's so much negative stuff on the other side of the spectrum. Biden is like an afterthought. Everything's about Trump and how ridiculous he is right now and COVID. But still, that's the thing. Biden's like kind of like, there's not a lot of press on him. Probably because he's boring. It's like, so you're not even president yet? No. Well, inauguration's coming up. You don't want to go through a presidential cycle of the lame duck and then push the president-elect only to get to inauguration and have like redundant coverage. You've been covering the guy from November to December, and then you're going into January, and you're like, nah, that's not what you're going to do. So there's like, more COVID, stimulus checks, Christmas stuff, arbitrary things about how like this new Justice Department hearing regarding that Trump or the White House, which is interesting, the White House took bribes or solicited bribes or entertained bribes, or there was a possible program for the White House to receive money in exchange for pardons. It's very weird because it completely separates Trump from like the idea, like somehow the entity of the White House. Any prosecutor can go into a federal prosecutor can file some sort of Justice Department thing, like we want to have a federal investigation on blah, blah, blah. But I probably unsubstantiated that Trump in his last days, who he'll probably be prosecuted at some point after his presidency, or at least there will be coverage on that, of like what charges against Trump and his family might come up after the election, or rather after the inauguration, when he leaves office and he's a regular citizen again. Unquestionably, that will come up, whether it's founded or unfounded. But this very idea of like impropriety, like, oh, I'm going to take bribes in exchange for, I'm going to get away with it too. The White House doesn't have a bank account. Like, how does that work? The White House is watched by, the legislative branch. Everyone sees everything. The judiciary that is pushing this investigation can watch. There's oversight committees. There's no like, I'm going to launder money. It's a weird investigation. Strange. I had a talk with my friend today, a huge fight about COVID, about how I think it's like overplayed in the media. And not that COVID isn't inherently dangerous, but that it's embellished, and that the people that espouse it, media, politicians, as being the worst thing in the world, and how you should not go see family members, how you should isolate yourself. They're overdoing it. They don't believe it themselves. Like Chris Cuomo not wearing a mask when he goes through his apartment and to parties and stuff like that, or Gavin Newsom in California going to that party at French Laundry where he said it was out. He lied. It wasn't outside. It was inside. He gets away with it because I can do whatever I want because this isn't a big deal. That's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. But there's this great video I want to show you about that. What's his name? Joey B. Tunes. Let's watch this right here.
Get a load of this guy.
Tonight, I'm authorizing the city to shut off Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Service in the egregious cases in which houses, businesses, and other venues are hosting unpermitted large gatherings.
For those that don't know, this is the mayor of Los Angeles, the guy who said he'd shut your water and electric off if you have too many people at your house. Yeah, recreating Woodstock 69 on Hollywood Boulevard's okay, though. He doesn't have anything to say about that. Nah, he joins it.
I want to invite the leaders of this organization inside so we can continue a conversation.
But the moment he catches wind that Cousin Eddie's coming over, that's when he'll take your basic life essentials away. You know, like your ability to shower. He'll spoil all the food in your fridge and make your family sit in darkness until they think about ever disobeying the overlord of Los Angeles again. Here's the next asshole. Apparently, California thought it was a good idea to elect the guy from American Psycho to be their governor. Going out to eat with members of your household this weekend? Don't forget to keep your mask on in between bites. Oh, that's nice. What's next, Emperor? Mandated grazing muzzles? How does it feel to be talked to like you're a bunch of barnyard animals incapable of keeping food in your mouth, California? What else you got for us, Patrick Bateman?
We are now effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations.
As extreme as it sounds, maybe this guy's just really passionate about stopping the spread of the virus.
Gavin Newsom is under fire tonight for attending a party in Napa County as COVID-19 cases surge statewide.
I guess not. What happened, Caesar?
I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge something just before we go into the Q&A. I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. It was to be an outdoor restaurant.
Oh, it was outdoors. Well, then what's the big deal? You don't have to explain yourself.
We were sent these photos late tonight by a woman who was actually at the French Laundry restaurant the exact same night that Governor Newsom was. Now those photos that she took are raising some new questions about the governor's claims that the dinner was outdoors, as he has repeatedly claimed.
Are you sure? I mean, I can't imagine Her Royal Highness would lie to us. This must just be a tree fort in the woods. What's he say here? Oh, when you go to a restaurant and it's clear that they're not practicing what we are preaching, report them. Yeah, where do we go to report you? I'm not seeing any information on that.
I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house.
Yeah, you know why you didn't? Because you didn't want to. And you know why you're saying this now? Because you got caught. We all know this, and so do you. But the fact you're arrogant enough to try to pass this off as a genuine apology just proves how you see society. Dumb, obedient, and easily manipulated. Sadly, a lot of us are. And that's why you and the rest of you lunatics in office are this way. Because it works.
So Wendy, I'm gonna take my mask off when I sneeze.
I will as well. I'm waiting so that we can do a little political theater.
Okay.
Yeah, great idea, Governor of Pennsylvania. Let's just play pretend and put on a show.
So that it's on camera.
Yeah, the pandemic variety hour. How come they never take the real mask off before they speak? You know, the one that reveals they're psychopaths.
And just know, this has not been a practice I've indulged in the past. I take it very seriously, what we are promoting, and have been doing so for many, many months.
Sure, you all do. The Speaker of the House does.
Is it time to mandate the wearing of masks across the country?
Oh, I definitely long overdue for that.
Just not when she's getting a haircut. The governor of New York does.
You could literally kill someone because you didn't want to wear a mask.
Just not when he's giving hugs. The White House reporters do.
I can't help but notice you're not wearing a mask. What's the reason for that? Is that a television thing or?
Just not when the cameras are off. The mayor of Chicago, Beetlejuice, does.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
Yeah, that's Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot coming out in full costume, cape and mask as the Rona, as in Corona Destroyer.
Just not when she's spitting into a megaphone in large crowds or getting her hair cut.
I take my personal hygiene very seriously. As I said, I felt like I needed to have a haircut. I'm not able to do that myself, and so I got a haircut.
I need to preach and practice, not just preach and not practice. And I've done my best to do that.
Yeah, you're all doing a great job.
You should expect nothing less of me, and I expect more from myself.
Nah, you're doing fine. We expect you to do a better job of pretending you give a shit, but maybe you could fix that by taking some acting lessons. This guy's got a good coach.
Look at these fools. Fools. I know they want to be out there. Fools, it's not about you. What about the other people?
See how authentic that sounded?
CNN anchor Chris Cuomo has been caught again gallivanting around New York without a protective mask.
I mean, he was completely full of shit, but at least it's harder to tell.
Cuomo was reportedly seen on the weekend in a New York City members club, not wearing a mask and walking around to greet people as if he were the mayor, according to the New York Post.
Now here's what you don't want to do.
Don't travel this holiday season. Stay home. Cook a turkey for yourself. Eat all of the mashed potatoes by yourself. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, apparently self-induced heart attacks is a defense to COVID now. See? Now you can tell she doesn't believe in what she's saying. Just look at the sadness in her eyes. Ugh.
Cook a turkey for yourself. Eat all of the mashed potatoes by yourself. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, she's good at one thing, and this is important when you're trying to convince people to enslave themselves. You want to make it sound fun.
Eat all of the mashed potatoes by yourself. That's what I'm gonna do.
See? Talking to someone as if you're convincing a small child to eat their spinach is an excellent exercise. Another good exercise is talking to a room full of adults like you're talking to a kindergarten class.
How's everybody doing? It's so good to see you, Texas. Bernice.
Oh, and don't forget the fake smile. This is essential. Now, if you use all these methods correctly, you could get away with anything.
Eat all of the mashed potatoes by yourself. That's what I'm going to do.
Don't underestimate the use of art either. If you can't find photos of people enjoying what you're suggesting, then just make it up. See how happy Grandma looks to spend Thanksgiving alone in her final years as she watches her grandson leave leftovers on her steps?
An elderly Canadian woman was killed by her doctor because she would rather be dead than go through another COVID lockdown. When it looked like she would have to be confined to her room for 2 weeks, she asked for, and received, the lethal jab due to declining mental health and vitality.
Go ahead, practice at home. Use this photo of elementary school students at recess and practice convincing people that this is good for their psychological development. Or how about this? How about all you hypocrites in government and media actually go yourself?
I love the social distancing squares with the children. Like, here's your play pen, here's your play area. Can you imagine a parent just like knowing, oh, my child, my baby, she had the COVID. I couldn't feed her. I kept throwing Gerber and a spoon at her face inside her square. I couldn't reach her. She was quarantined for 14 days in her square. I couldn't get to her. Because of the stimulus checks, I couldn't afford a hazmat suit to go and caress her. She died from malnutrition. It's awful. She's just lying there in her social distancing square. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, what are we doing? It's so vile. Isn't that a good video? It's such a good video. Because it's not really attacking COVID. It's attacking the media's perception of it. And I would even go as far and take an extrapolation or like an inference that the same thing with climate change deniers, the science people who don't agree with the, you can't quantitatively determine how much of an effect we have on carbon emissions as humans and like what the cycle of change is in this country in terms of carbon in the ozone and so on and so forth, whether it's natural or it's all man-made, right? Industrial Revolution, 1895, 1920 Model T, it's very difficult to ascertain, especially with confusing and confounding characteristics of carbon emissions at different times when in the past that are higher than today, and it's difficult. But those scientists, like if you're a scientist, you're a geologist, whatever, you don't really get an opportunity to publish those articles that are dissenting without huge ridicule, losing your tenure at a university or something. There's money involved that could destroy you, your career, your reputation. The same thing, the epidemiologists, small segments of them. I think there's a guy named John Ioannidis from Stanford. Just thinks that this is blown way out of proportion. But I bet there's a bunch of John Ioannidises that are scientists. They're very, very tenured, of great curriculum vitae that just say, this is fucking nuts privately, but they wouldn't dare say it publicly. Wouldn't dare say it publicly because there's money. They want to feed their family. I don't blame them. This whole fear-mongering thing we have now, if you don't agree with the status quo, will come after you and destroy your life. You don't deserve to have your family, your kids go to school, have enough money to pay your electric bill. If you disagree with what CNN says or what the status quo is, ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever, you're in trouble. You're done. We can destroy your life. You'll be fired from your job. You will not be able to pay your rent, and your children will starve. That's kind of the way we live in this society. It's very crazy. You're dangerous. The idea of dissenting from popular opinion means you must be expelled. And by expelling you, by excommunicating you, we must destroy your livelihood because that's the only way to shut you up. And then there might be some recourse where you come around, we'll rehabilitate you. If we think it's, if we deem it important to us, or we think you made a mistake, or we could use you in the future. We being, I don't know, some combination of big tech and the media, and I don't know. It's very disheartening. I love that video though. I mean, Gavin Newsom. Oh my God, the lying, the masks on TV just for the sake of wearing a mask. Like, it's so vile. It's so fake, and that pandering to like the everyday person, scaring them. Sense of there's no sense of control there. There's nothing that's like disingenuous about what the purpose of that is in terms of politic. What is the politics behind wearing a mask on TV? It doesn't really seem to be. It seems to be a separate issue, exclusive thereof, more about control, or separating people, keeping people from talking to each other, from questioning the status quo. That's what it seems to be about. I'm going to transition a second to something less serious. James Franco, look at those calves. God, this guy's huge fucking calves. Probably a short guy too, about like 5'9", 5'10", big calves. About Elliot Page, Ellen Page, formerly dead naming, not really, just a historical contextualization of the person's life. When she was a female character, or he played a female character when she was a she in real life. That's confusing. In Inception, Juno, she played a pregnant man. See how confusing this is? It gets confusing. But with all due respect, I wondered if how much could I benefit if I was in my 30s as a woman or a man or whatever. Well, I don't know. Like as an actress, when you get into your 30s as a woman, there's like a clock ticking. Not everyone can be, Meryl Streep or a what's her name, like M from Bond, British girl, Dame. Can't think of. Anyway, fuck. Like imagine if you could just switch and become a leading man once you're 35 as a woman. There's a model that did that, very powerful jaw. And she just said, you know what? I'm 33. I'm not hireable anymore as a model. Like, not that you don't look beautiful. It's like there's a timetable of like bringing up someone and pushing the product, and they want to like keep cycling. I guess it's like a law of diminishing returns by pushing someone who's getting towards the end. They'd rather push the 16-year-old into cycles. But she's now a male model. I mean, that's you don't have to transition to do that. Nothing changes for Ellen in any sense. She was a lesbian before that, or an outspoken part member of the LGBT community. I guess the only difference is shorter hair. Is there hormones involved? I don't know. But I wish her nothing but the best. I do wonder though, if I transitioned, like, could I monetize it for myself in some way? If I was in Hollywood making videos, if I was a transgender podcaster or whatever that you want to call this medium that I'm in right now, would that benefit me in some way more than just being a cisgender white male? Probably. If I was a member of an all-women's dodgeball team at 6'6", 225 pounds, I would kick ass. If dodgeball, I love dodgeball, was in the Olympics, I'm just like, sorry, sir. I'd crush them. And I'd fuck all of them afterwards. I'm not going to cut this off. It's beautiful. But yeah, I do wonder about that. Tech ball from earlier is retarded. There are like little pickleball, great sport. Four ball, there's a four-square game of like keeping the ball in the air with friends and the basket in the middle. I can't remember what it's called. That's a good game. Tech ball's retarded. Tech ball is like a game for the Special Olympics where people with no arms play ping pong. That's what it looks like, except it's able-bodied. I don't like sports that disable you, like soccer, why is an anathema in the United States? Because the predication is that it's not practical. Why would you deny your ability to use all your appendages? It's weird. It's like it's like a transabled thing, something that no one talks about, which is an interesting correlation to transgenderism, I have to say. People that say, I should have been disabled. What's the difference between that and sexuality? Oh, well, one's more mainstream, one's more accepted. But the idea of, I'm just not going to use my arms, or I should have my arms cut off, that's not accepted because it implies mental illness because it's so off the cuff. But the idea that you are a man or a woman and that's somehow related to sexuality, I think it's a conflation in terms of sexual identity, sexual choice, who you choose to have sex with, and then how you view yourself. I think that's very superficial and confounding, and it doesn't necessarily imply that transableism should have such a bad rap. And in fact, the transgender community and the LGBT community have pushed against the transabled community and given them support, which I think is wrong. And it's not just because transableds are not involving sexuality. It's because it gives a bad name politically to the movement. And I think it's wrong too. I think that you have to do both. If you see a segment of the population that's a similar dysphoria of birth dysphoria, and you refuse to acknowledge them because you're fearful that it will hurt and detract from your own political agenda, social agenda, change, I think that's selfish. And I think the LGBT community should take a look at that, just as they should take a look at a child who might be experiencing gender dysphoria, a 3-year-old, and think, is it transphobic to deny this young child's choice? Can't not at the age of consent, but they're at the age of consent to change their sex. Very interesting. Doesn't make sense to me. It's weird. Strange. That's strange to me. It's a separate idea, but it's strange. 3-year-old. What was my idea? Shit. I've lost my train of thought. Oh my God. I was just thinking about that though. 3-year-old, not at the age of consent, but they're at the age of consent to decide and tell their parents, I know what I want to be. Oh, now I got it. I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be Batman. I mean, whatever. I'm just saying the children thing is the argument. Joe Rogan, whatever, everyone. It's the one thing. It's like, how can you honestly tell me that a child that sticks boogers under the couch? I did this thing with my mom. She thought I loved bananas in the morning when I was a kid. She thought I hated them. I would hide them in this drawer at the breakfast table. When my mom died and I went to consign some of the stuff or give it away or whatever, I don't know. I don't remember the whole process. There were other people involved that were helping because obviously I was a kid. I opened that drawer and I saw all the dried up bananas. I'm like, that kid was making a decision that couldn't honestly tell his mom, hey Ma, I don't like bananas. I don't know why I go there with my younger version of myself, but like, why should I have the right to say, hey Ma, I'm gonna be taken away as a ward of the state if you don't let me become a girl. I'm Cindy now. I'm Andrea. Sorry. But again, my original idea, the point of this kind of diatribe is the idea that the child it's transphobic to deny the child that right, but it's also homophobic because that child could end up just being a healthy gay man. I think there just needs to be some more transparency. The science and the sociological affectations of this movement are very unclear. Like, things are ever changing. People have their own pronouns, their own rules, and it seems to be more about changing definitions than about any clear-cut science. I don't care what adults do. Don't care at all. I wish Elliot Page nothing but the best. Absolutely. It's just... I'm not even going to get into suicide rates or suicidal ideations, posts and I'm not going to get into that. It's not what I'm here for. I'm not to condemn anything. I just think there should be more acceptance across the board as to contradictions and difficulties of acceptance, trans-abled and the gay community with transgender community, and also women in terms of just gender in general. You're ostracizing, kind of oppressing them by saying that being a woman, the entire women's movement is kind of diluted by this idea that everyone can be anything they want, anytime they want. It's an individual right that shouldn't put women in a position that are athletes or dilute the biological science. The bifurcation of gender and biological sex also is just word games. It's just word games. It doesn't mean anything. It's just individual self-identification. But you start putting that into like science, that there's no such thing as biological. That's weird shit. And it undermines everything women have strived for in this country. Women are part of the LGBT community in a big way. That L, that's them. And then the T is a confounding element if you are aggressively attacking the elemental biological traits of a woman. XY chromosome stuff, these things are real. Like, you can't just throw it away. Like, oh, that's superficial and it's outdated. What? Uterus is outdated? Well, we'll talk to doctors about hysterectomies and ovaries and talk to, I guess that LEAP procedure my fiance had didn't matter. That was unnecessary. No such thing. Ovarian cancer, can we not talk about that? Because it's transphobic? That's the problem. That's a problem. Not all women have ovaries? Oh, so not all women have ovaries, but if you have them and there's cancerous cells, you should remove them. But that doesn't mean that you're any more of a woman than someone who's not. Conversely, if you're raped and go to a woman's shelter, a guy that says he's a woman can also be your bunkmate. Is that healthy mentally for the woman? I don't know. It's another little serious thing I went off of because it's a little real. It's fungible. It's like, yeah, there is some quid pro quo there. There is some like give and take. It's not completely clear like what the rules are, how it should be handled. But I'm all happy for Elliot, and I think that Ellen's work is great, and I hope Elliot's work is better or as good, and maybe he takes over as for Tom Cruise. Good strong jawline, handsome face, for all the Mission Impossibles in the future. Maybe Maybe in Inception 2, you realize the idea of Ellen Page's character is a dream in and of itself, that the real character dreaming is Elliot, a man. That would be a cool element of it. Though I think that Christopher Nolan, who is brilliant, has gotten, Memento I didn't care for as a movie, his time sequencing has gotten way out of control. From the math, the practicality of it, and then the idea of kind of reading that as an audience member, I did not care for the last movie. It was just, what? And it didn't make sense. Like, you could attack things with the Matthew McConaughey out in space. What was it? Whatever. I can't remember the name of it. But you can attack things involving string theory or quantum mechanics that are like off. But fundamentally, it's fluid, and the general public can understand it. This last one with that Nolan did, I was like, what? What is happening? It's almost like he had to stop filming because of COVID and then restart again, which might have happened. And then in the editing room, there might have been some concern of like, I don't know, like, oh my God, we have to do reshoots. But no, the studio needs us to get this movie out there. We have other things in the schedule. We either do it now or we don't. Like, there might have been some issue with that with COVID. COVID's fucked everything. The whole idea of the Denver Broncos last weekend, they had to use their like not even quarterback. They wanted to use their quarterback coach. They had all 4 quarterbacks denied as high-risk COVID possibilities. And they wanted to use Brian Calabrese, who played quarterback in college, as their quality control QB, like backup coach, to be their quarterback. The NFL wouldn't allow it because you have to sign the person. There's a 5-day waiting period. So he was fucked. So they used Tyler Hilton Hinton, who was a wide receiver who played some quarterback at college, but was mainly a wide receiver in college, and then played some in high school. And he played like a high school quarterback. I think he was like awful. But the fact that the NFL forced them to do so is ridiculous. Emergency signing or adding more roster spots or QBs, there should have been something. It's so weird. I don't understand it. The Broncos got absolutely pummeled in that game. I just realized looking at the camera. How you doing, ma? Yeah. Pummeled. It's embarrassing. Roger Goodell should be ashamed of himself. He was penalizing the team. Like, how dare you allow 4 quarterbacks to be exposed or your protocol breaks? You had a coach on the sidelines not wearing his mask in a 65,000 square foot stadium outside. You gotta think about that. The players on the sidelines aren't wearing masks. Why are the coaches wearing masks? It's fake. It's for television because the players most of the time are just wearing helmets. On the sideline, they don't have to wear masks because they're fucking athletes. They want to breathe as best as they can, right? Carbon monoxide, you don't want to breathe that in. What the fuck are you doing? You have to run, 60 yards down the field. You have to play special teams and defense. Who knows? Like, it's crazy. Oh my God, it's crazy. The grandparents thing I did want to mention. Like, the idea that some people are so, like, follow CDC protocol, whatever, WHO guidelines, that they actually let their grandparents, like, who are sick at a nursing home or something. That's another thing. Nursing homes not allowing families to visit. You know how sad that is? That story at the end of that video about the grandparent. It's true. It's actually happening. I feel more detached than ever. I've flown out of the country since COVID's happened. I'm very fortunate. Europe's not, I think publicly there's one thing, but Italy right now, went to a party, there's no one there. A UNICEF benefit, there's no one there wearing a mask. I had one in my pocket. I was wearing a dinner jacket, like a tuxedo. No one was wearing a mask. Crazy. Absolutely insane. I don't know what you want to do. This is true. It's wrong, the grandparents thing. What is Bill Gates any other way about vaccines and how they'll curb the population, the idea of the vaccines? Why? I'll look into why he said that. What does he mean it'll curb the population? I wanted to look that up. I'm not going to do it on camera right now, but what the fuck is he talking about? It'll curb the population. People are having less sex since COVID. You think that we'd be like fucking like bunnies. Funny thing bunnies do. But we're not. I don't know. Because it's depressing. because we start to hate each other because we're like inside all the time. I don't know. Having tons of sex. When I was a kid, the wine opener, I don't have one here. I have the normal corkscrew thing, but the one where you pull down, I used to use that as Egon's spectrometer from Ghostbusters and walk around the house and like go to my mom when she's cooking dinner and go up and down like, Mom, you're clear, you're not a ghost, and like walk away. I think that was adorable. A lot of funny things like that. Once my uncles took me to dinner and they asked, the waiter asked, how do you like your hamburger? I'm like, well, I'd like the bun on top, the meat in the middle, and the bun on the bottom, thank you. Or when there was a family get together and there were like Caesar salads placed at everyone's seat while family members were dancing or something, some sort of like family reunion, I took it upon myself to taste the Caesar salad for the first time at one of the place settings. And then, because you know how like those places where it's like it's when it's like mass or like tons of people are there, like that Caesar salad is not huge, it's very, very small. I loved it so much. The dressing was just like cocaine. I took it upon myself to eat every single person's Caesar salad as a child. Just as weird as me asking for Brian Gumbel's autograph. The same type of weird shit. All the way around. I ate everyone's Caesar salad. They got back to their plate, their place, and they're like, "What is? Like, did we eat already?" They know it's like, "Hey, wait, that's my Caesar. Someone ate it." I think someone saw me, and they're like, "That's hilarious." It is funny. It is weird. It's weird. It was a thing I was raised by my mom. My parents were divorced. You know, is that a thing? It's like you're divorced and raised by your mom, so you're gonna eat all the Caesar salads at the family reunion. Is that possible? Is there the weird shit like that? Is there another version of me that someone could say something about? Like, yeah, dude, I did the same thing. My mom raised me. Season 1 of The Undoing finished this past Sunday. Season 1, I have no idea how there could be a season 2, spoiler alert. But everything that Nicole Kidman's done on HBO is some of my favorite work. I loved her in Big Little Lies. Not saying that the book derivatively is not the work. You know, some people talk about like the actress and the actors and like, you know, like, well, they're not writing the lines, they're just putting them out there. But she did a great job. Skarsgård, Alex, handsome, tall guy. So, yeah, everyone on that show. Reese Witherspoon, but like, great. She's done great work. And Big Little The Undoing with Hugh Grant. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. It'd be funny if like he was a sociopath in Notting Hill, and the apricots dripped in honey that he offered to Julia Roberts was really like poison. He was like Mithridate, and he like would intentionally poison. Like Phantom Thread. He'd intentionally poison her, and like say, "Listen, you need to do this just in case." He's like Psycho, kind of like that. What's that thing with James Caan, Misery. Like, he's so worried that she's gonna be poisoned, some irrational thing, that he poisons her apricots dipped in honey over and over again. She gets a little bit sick, but she built up a tolerance. And then one day, someone accidentally from like their outside farm area gets the wrong apricot with the wrong poison mix, and so he raises the dose, and she doesn't have the built up the tolerance to that, and she dies. And he's like, "Shit, that sucks." And then he takes it, and he dies too. That would be interesting, really weird. And what's the character arc? I don't know. But I loved The Undoing. I really did. I think it was nice to have something, you know, miniseries, which I hope it is. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. It's like 4 episodes. And see, how is this a season? Like, you know, you can't have second season, 4 episodes, 2. What is this? Like, what is it about? But I love that. I love the whole thing. I used to use Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant is sociopath. He's great. Every relationship I've ever been in, I like to use corny lines from movies when I'm like in like kind of a arbitrary position with the person I'm with. Like, you don't want to stay in tonight, order some Chinese food? She's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna watch some Netflix. No girl I've ever dated has talked like that. But people that they know talk like that, we make fun of them. That's how you know it's love, right? And like, so what do you want to eat? Like, maybe some Kung Pao. After all, I'm just a boy standing in front of the girl, asking her to love me. The other things I would do is like fart transfer, where I put my butt to her butt in like an opposite spoon, and then like initiate fart transfer and fart into her butt, and then that always gets them going. Got to make them laugh, even if it's grotesque. You have to do it. Got to make them laugh. It's not all about being the pretty quarterback. I mean, I'm not a pretty boy, but you know what I mean. Like laughter's key. Yeah, life's too serious. There's too much stressors. I think that's the hardest thing in the world is the question of yourself as to whether you're doing enough and balancing the equation, not allowing the stress from everything else in life get into the way of your relationship. There's a fantastical element of like love and like being with someone and feeling close to them. And COVID, stress, these things are so embedded in our lives right now that are like, so it's like an angst. It's almost imperceptible too, because it's like COVID's been around forever. It's like no one's worried about like Ebola, but there's something that's just there, like stress. It's building. I think our cell phones might be doing it. I don't know, but like, and to like go back to simpler times. A friend of mine sent me the mutual friend sent me a Scrabble board thing of the scores before Words with Friends was an app. You know, pre-2014 or there was not everyone was doing things on the cell phone, right? Like, you know, apps wise, like text messages, yes, surfing the net, yes, but like really embedded with the apps of people from my generation that are like 30-ish, you know? And, you know, sitting by the fireplace and playing Scrabble with a glass of wine and getting your ass kicked by someone you love is great. It's just as good as getting shit-faced or travel. Sex and travel with that person's probably better overall. But like, no, there's just the little things like that. I don't know. It's just nice. Let's see what else we got here. As I mentioned, dissenting opinions are labeled as existential threats by mainstream media. The Dominion voting criticism is no different. When the president of the company comes out and says the machine tabulators, those are the places where you actually make the votes, are not connected to each other, and that the voting machine isn't connected to the internet. And then you find out that, in fact, the actual server on site that is taking the votes from the tabulators is actually connected to all the tabulators. For convenience, of course, it makes sense, like an intranet. And then you find out that that machine is connected to the internet. It has Wi-Fi networks also. It's not hardwired, which would be more secure. And it sends data out beyond the boundaries of the United States to a server in Frankfurt, Germany. That's verified at one location. Weird. What? How could you? That's true. No one's talking about that. No one. That is irrefutable that that's true. People keep talking about like Rudy Giuliani has no evidence of voter fraud, but you know, of course he does. It's just not verified yet. The court process is still going on. Whether it'll substantiate and move to the Supreme Court is very difficult. Whether they want to accept the case is very difficult. There's so much pressure to make this go away in many respects. But there are elements of this. It's just whether it's standard, operating procedure for elections to have some fraud or there's something more insidious going on. The one thing I think is interesting is Pelosi's former chief of staff was part of a Democratic lobbying group pushing Dominion voting machines. Nadim Ishami is part of Brown, Farmer, Hyatt, and Schreck that push the Dominion voting machine. I think that's interesting. Huge data dumps in key swing states after Republican poll watchers were asked to leave. I think that's interesting. Why are you having a $400,000 voting dump in Maricopa County at 4:30 a.m. after you have asked their conservative poll watchers to leave? Mind you, the data dump is higher at that period of time than all the votes tabulated for that day. And they're all Biden votes. What? It's very weird. It's so difficult to get information on this to determine whether it's truly verifiable when you have the actual CEO saying the opposite. You find these people, you go to the hearings, you can watch them online. It's very difficult to find anything that isn't just condemning the idea of voter fraud as being completely unfounded. And it builds this bias in your head where you start having this kind of imposter syndrome, where you think that you're crazy or that you're just a nut job for even wasting your time. And a normal person who has time to really refute the mainstream media anyway. It's not supposed to be like this, but Even on the Wall Street Journal, there's an article. You see the comment section condemning the article itself. It's so far left. And it's just editorialized. Sometimes it doesn't have any evidence, that there is no evidence. It keeps condemning that without providing evidence there is no evidence, despite there being evidence in lawsuits. Sworn affidavits are evidence. Sworn testimony from people explaining the Dominion voting machines are attached to the internet is evidence. I don't understand, which refutes the claim of the actual CEO. You don't think that's relevant, substantial? Of course it is, but no one's reporting that. It's so, you have to, you spend hours trying to find that information. It's ridiculous. I wanted to show you this video. It's been circulated for a while. This is Bernie Sanders talking to Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon is really giving, this is an unusual interview. Obviously COVID, satellite, but he's really giving Bernie the platform, quiet. He's not it's almost like this segment is very important from the network's position. And here, just listen to what let's listen to what Bernie predicts about the Biden election night and what will happen right afterwards. It's very interesting. Here.
Although the election is November 3rd, and it's been said that we won't know the results until days later, when do you think we'll know the results?
All right. Jimmy, you raise an important point, and I hope the American people understand it, because this is something I worry about. My view is every vote must be counted. For reasons which I don't have the time to get into tonight, you're going to have a situation, I suspect, in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, other states, where they are going to be receiving huge amounts of mail-in ballots. And unlike states like Florida or Vermont, they're not being able, for bad reasons, to begin processing those ballots until, election day, or maybe when the polls close. That means you're going to have states dealing with perhaps millions of mail-in ballots. Here is my worry. What polls show and what studies have shown is that for whatever reason, Democrats are more likely to use mail-in ballots. Republicans are more likely to walk into polling booths on election day. It is likely that the first votes that will be counted will be those people who came in on election day, which will be Republican. And here is the fear, and I hope everybody hears that. It could well be, I don't know what's going to happen, nobody does, but it could well be that at 10 o'clock on election night, Trump is winning in Michigan, he's winning in Pennsylvania, he's winning in Wisconsin, and he gets on the television, he says, "Thank you, Americans, for re-electing me. It's all over. Have a good day." But then the next day and the day following, all of those mail-in ballots start getting counted, and it turns out that Biden has won those states. At which point Trump says, "See, I told you the whole thing was fraudulent. I told you those mail-in ballots were crooked, and we're not going to leave office." So that is a worry that I and a lot of people have. So the results, we don't know what's happened. Maybe the results will be on election day, but people should be aware of that possibility.
He says there's going to be voting discrepancies in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, but not Ohio or Florida. He literally gets it completely right. It's weird. Really weird. Oh my, it's so weird. He says that Trump will be ahead on voting night, but because more Democrats have absentee votes or believe in absentee balloting and conservatives are more likely to go to the polls, all those votes will be tabulated as mail-ins and the vote could change, the vote totals. Of course they did. We saw it flip all for Biden. It's very interesting. Pennsylvania is a state that has not been conservative, so you can flip that one, sure. That's a good one. Wisconsin, and if you were to really go that route and to see, it's very difficult to critique this in any way that doesn't make you sound like a conspiracy theorist. But it is interesting he got it dead on. It's almost like he leaked the game plan. Like, we're not going to deal with Ohio. That's too high end. We're not going to go with Florida. Can't get away with that. But if we take Wisconsin from Trump, Michigan from Trump, it's possible we could do this. And then we take Pennsylvania, which predominantly usually is Democrat. Trump got it in 2016, but we can flip that one. We're good. We're home free. Mathematically, we're good, buddy. Arizona, maybe. It's very interesting how he laid it out, and then what Trump would say is that these votes are fraudulent. He was pushing the all vote should count thing before Trump mentioned anything about that. It's very interesting. Even when Trump suggested fraud in the summer for the because of COVID and what this would mean for the election, how votes would be processed, no one was saying all votes should count. It's like they were planning at some point to talk about that. That's going to be the antithetical push against Trump. And then Bernie got that and started pushing it before it happened. The actual political stance that, everyone has a catchphrase, right? That is interesting. And I don't know. It's interesting. Can't you say it's interesting without sounding like like being like you're just a white trash, you uneducated, you just looking at all of them. It's weird. I'm criticizing myself doing the white trash, whatever, like hillbilly voice. Yeah, just do some. These are like black rim glasses. You, sir, are embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your country. Talking about voter fraud without evidence is dangerous. It's right there in that lawsuit. That Michigan lawsuit, that Arizona lawsuit. Sir, you should stop right now. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's what they do. There's a Marine that was on CNN on a panel talking about how the idea of verified source or inside the White House is at a meeting, but he won't come out and say anything. He was critiquing this as like these verified sources, these source close to the White House that was in the meeting. I heard Trump say X, Y, and Z. And then someone comes out and says Trump didn't say that, but they're sticking with their sources. He critiques that as like weird because it's like essentially, why wouldn't you just come out and say what he said? Why would you hide? It's really strange, and it's easy to just make them up. And then he was just being ridiculed by an anchor. I'm like, in this media age, the bifurcation of media is so self-evident. They're trying to stay alive. They have to compete with people on YouTube, on Instagram, on weird feeds, Cheddar TV, things are gotcha journalism like TMZ. Clicking. Big tech is running the show in terms of algorithms of who views what on top. They side with the progressive agenda. I don't know why, and a variety of reasons for it. You can start getting into conspiracy theories, but doing good, being true, being honest, and the mainstream media has elected to go the routes of that ideology, kind of like splitting, like implying that conservative ideology is racist or something, and liberalism is this. Not only is the status quo true and honest, but liberalism is the way it should be, and anyone who disagrees with that is a conspiracy theorist. And so to espouse the same party rhetoric as one political party is speaking the truth, nothing but the truth, and if you go against it, so help you God, you might be destroyed, and your family might starve, and you might be thrown out on the street. And from Gavin Newsom's standpoint, if you throw a party, unless you're Cardi B, you might have your water turned off and your power. Unless you're Gavin Newsom or Cardi B. It's creepy, man. This is such a weird time we're living in. 50 Cent's totally right. Get rich or die trying. Move to Lithuania first. Pick your gorgeous, symmetrical, protracted, like, God, her cheekbones. Marry her. Prenup. Go to Monaco, play tennis, and, I don't know, pretend to be a Russian oligarch in London. Because I don't know that there's enough nationalism and patriotism to push. Even Peter Thiel starting to like retract some of his statements. He's like, I can't win this thing. What do you have worth? $4 billion, maybe more. If you can't do it, then no one can. Can't be the cycle. In summation, the richest people in the world wanting nation states to disappear and be open bordered, and cheap labor and floating currency issues that are like, it's just, I don't know. It is what it is. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. It's so good to be back. Episode 20. Keep pushing it. Keep doing it. Subscribe down below. And yeah, have a good one. I'll see you next week.